Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
I am that dude, Bodkins. Patty to patty. It's ridiculous. No way. There's nobody else out there. He's your guy. Give a big round of applause for the one and only BodkinShow. I'm going to repeat that again, folks. I didn't stutter. Welcome to the Bodkins Show.
Good morning, everybody. It is another beautiful Wednesday morning. This is our Bodkins weekly wrap-up show. Where we get you caught up from one Wednesday to the next Wednesday and everything that was sports and get you prepared for the weekend. I forgot my hat, so you got to see more of my big, ugly face. Doesn't help my lighting is awful in this room. I got to get a better lamp. So anyway, before we get started, if you missed our NFL Week 6 reaction show, please check that out. That aired on Sunday night. And then also, I wasn't on Buffoon and Bodkins. I was just ill, tired, sick. But Tanner held down the fort, so please check out Tanner and Buffoon and Bodkins on Monday's show. I'll be back next Monday, though. I'll be back in the saddle. Ready to go next Sunday with Monday on with Tanner. Tonight we'll be back at 9 p.m. Central Time Zone. A little later start tonight. Son's got a basketball game, but when we get back from the game, we'll be doing our NFL Week 7 preview show. That's where we break down every game, pick every game against the spread. I had a huge week last week, bounced back. I went 10-2 on the picks, so that was nice. Finally figuring out, after going like 3 and something, like 3-10 the week before. So, but back in it tonight. Can't see advice, getting you ready for your Week 7 matchup. Man, we're already in 7 weeks here in the NFL. Wild deal. I mean, how fast are we moving right along? Before we know it, Thanksgiving will be here. Thanksgiving Day games, and season's getting close to being halfway through, and I still can't tell you. I could probably tell you the top 2, maybe 3 teams. Outside of that, everybody's got a lot of question marks. It seems like everybody's about 3-3 through 6 weeks, and then even the teams that aren't 3-3, you can make a case that they are still got a chance. I mean, it's still wide open. I believe the only team that probably doesn't have a chance in the NFL right now is the Carolina Panthers. So, hey, maybe they'll turn it around. Maybe they will. Probably not. It seems like they got a lot of issues going on there outside of just Baker Mayfield. We're not going to spend a whole lot on the NFL here, but we wanted a couple quick hits. We talked about Robbie Anderson on Sunday's show, just pretty much his coach saying, hey, get the F out. So they even got him out, traded to Arizona. Arizona gets Robbie Anderson. They needed him. It looks like Hollywood Brown is out for at least 6 weeks, maybe the year, with an ankle/toe injury maybe. And then, but the big news for them is they're getting D-Hop coming back tomorrow night. So hopefully that'll save Arizona's offense because it looks awful. In other news, in NFL news real quick, again, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it because we break out on everything tonight. But we got to get into this owner stuff. So Jim Irsay come out yesterday and pretty much was like, yo, get Dan Snyder the F out. He shouldn't be he should be investigated. He should be, he doesn't need to be an NFL owner. The Commanders have now come out and they have said, the Commanders have said, hey, Jim, chill out. We are doing our investigation. And even Roger Goodell said, hey, the investigation's being, it's being worked on and things like that. And then in other old rich man white news, looks like there's a little beef between Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft. I don't know what they were arguing about. It seems like from what I was reading before we came online is that at the owners meeting, the owners all kind of want Roger Goodell. Jerry's like, hey, F Roger. And he pretty much told, Robert Kraft, hey, don't F with me. And that's kind of what Jim Irsay told with about Dan Snyder as well. And then they fought, then Robert said, what? And then they got into it, and then it got squashed. It seems like they were revoting like Roger Goodell's contract, and every owner besides Jerry Jones said, yeah, let's renew it. All the owners seem to obviously like him because that's who he works for. And he's made them a lot of money. So, Landis is chiming in here already. Jerry didn't get the invite to the wedding. Hey, that's what it was. So I figured out the solution to this, these 4 old white, geriatric fucks, how to handle this situation. You put them in a Hell in a Cell cage and then make it a tag team match. You can add Robert Kraft and Dan Snyder, since they both like handies and things like that, and underage women. And you take them versus Jim Irsay, who's one of the older owners in the league, bought the team from his dad, and then Jerry Jones, who is obviously, been around a long time, America's favorite team, I'll put some quotation marks in that. And you let them duke it out an old-fashioned steel cage WWE match. It can be hell in a cell match, and let them figure it out. Losers walk away, have to sell their teams. Winners can pick the best player off the opposing teams. You know what I mean? And then you could even do it where Jerry turns on Irsay, and they have to duke it out. Winner gets to pick their best player from their team. Hey, just figured it out. Squash them, get 2 crappy old whites out of there. They have to sell their team. That would be great. I figured it all out. So let me call Raj. We'll get this situated. We can sell it on pay-per-view. Shoot, put it on the Jake Paul Silva card, and there you go, folks. Just figured that one out. That can be the co-main of the Jake Paul Anderson Silva fight. Jerry Jones and Jim Irsay versus Dan Snyder and Robert Kraft in a Hell in a Cell match. That'll sell. I'd buy it. I'd tune in. I mean, I may not buy it, but I'd definitely stream it. Landis has got another question in here real quick. How does that make Antonio Brown feel that Robbie Anderson got a job after doing the same thing? Yes and no. Robbie didn't quit in the middle of the game and take his jersey off and throw it in the middle of the field. He was just mad sitting on the sidelines, and they just said, hey, with that attitude, get the F out. So he got kind of kicked out and quit all at the same time. And Antonio Brown, we know all the issues that he's had in the past. Robbie has not had those issues, at least on the field or even off the field so much. There was reports all year, though, that this Carolina thing wasn't going to work out. At one point, it was like he was going to retire. He was going to, then he shows up to camp. We were interested to see what the whole deal with him and Baker was going to be. I mean, Robbie Anderson's he's a deep ball playmaker, and they can't throw the ball past 5 yards in Carolina. So I just think he was frustrated. It was a bad marriage. And sometimes you got to get a divorce, and sometimes that divorce is national TV. So unfortunately, in lifetime, I guess, because that game was so crappy and it was between 2 crappy teams, that it doesn't really, it wasn't like on prime time, but you get it. It was on national TV. Divorces happen. A little different situation, I think, than Antonio Brown. But Robbie Anderson gets his last and final chance in Arizona. It's Robbie Anderson. Who cares, right? That's just kind of how it is. Let's get into the college football. Ugh, your boy Bodkins did not do so well in the old college football picks this past weekend. I did get the Penn State, Michigan right. I had Michigan at -7. They handled business pretty easily. They ran all over Penn State, just ran all over them with that 2-headed monster running game. Michigan looks pretty good. They were ranked number 5. I'll read out the top 10 here in just a minute, folks. let's get back into the picks, though. I had Alabama at -7.5. Well, Alabama didn't even cover. They lost that game. That was game of the weekend. I mean, that was such a great game. Alabama has a chance to win it. They miss a field goal. Tennessee goes down, kicks the game winner. Crowd goes wild. Tear the goalpost down, throw that bad boy in the river. And I mean, it was just a wild game. Great game. My thoughts from that game is Bryce Young's going to look hella good in a Carolina Panther uniform next year. So that was probably the game of the weekend in all sports, like whether it be college football or the NFL. Chiefs-Bills game was really good too, though, so I might take that game. I mean, just because I could watch Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes all day, but I was glad to see Tennessee really. I picked Alabama, but anytime Alabama loses, unless you're like a diehard Roll Tide fan, you don't really. You're just kind of happy to see it. Nick Saban was losing his freaking mind out there. I thought he was going to have an aneurysm or a heart attack on the field. But Tennessee looked good. Tennessee still got to play Georgia. And then, Tennessee's got a rough road ahead because they still got to play Georgia. Then if they play in the SEC championship game, more than likely they're going to have to play Alabama. And can they beat Alabama twice? That'll be, the most interesting thing. Can they do it twice in the SEC championship game? I mean, if they get in, the chances are to the SEC championship game and they're still undefeated and they lose to Alabama, they probably still get into the playoffs because we've seen that show before, i.e. Georgia last year. But then, then they probably have to play, maybe they play Alabama again in the playoffs. But it's tough to beat Alabama twice. Nick Saban will have it figured out. But I think a lot of that has to do, I mean, that Tennessee crowd was just absolutely going insane. Then I lost I had NC State, Syracuse. I lost that one. Syracuse took care of business there. So Michigan won 41-17. I was just kind of – Tennessee did win 52-49. So it was such a great game, high scoring. I missed this game for some reason on our picks. I didn't even pick it, but TCU beats Oklahoma State in the upset. And then like I said, I lost the NC State Syracuse game. Syracuse rolls 24-9. And then I had I won this game. I take that back. I had USC at +3.5. I thought I probably would have took the USC money line, but USC does cover. They lose 43-42 to Utah. I thought USC was just going to run away here, win that division, and win that conference, and maybe get the Pac-12 into the playoffs for the first time. Pac-12's never been in the playoffs, so I don't think they're going to get in this year either, folks, unless something crazy happens. UCLA would have to run the table. UCLA is 6-0. They can walk through the Pac-12 undefeated. They would get in at that point in time. But they still got USC later in the year. Oregon's sitting right there at 5-1 too. So let's get into this week's games, and then we'll kind of give the updated rankings here. So Syracuse going to Clemson. Clemson at -13.5. That's a big spread, folks. But Landez chiming in. Oregon hasn't been. I've had this argument 3 times with 3 different people. Look it up, Landez. Since the playoffs have started, there's never been one Pac-12 team to enter the playoffs. Look it up, Google it. Promise you'll get the same results. Anyway, what else? Oh, so we got Oregon. Sorry, phone. We got Syracuse, Clemson. I know that is a big spread at 13.5, but it's in Clemson, Death Valley. I'm hammering home the Clemson Tigers, 13.5. Dabo's got those guys going here. Landis says, credit to Nick, I'm wrong. Of course you're wrong. I told you. I wouldn't be. There's no misinformation here. When I give out something, it's either facts or I was misbelieved, And then we got the next game, Texas, Oklahoma State. Texas really struggled. Number 20, Texas versus number 11, Oklahoma State. I mean, Texas struggled with Iowa State. That was the ultimate trap game for them. Big win against Oklahoma. Then they had to play Iowa State, and that game went down to the wire. Texas able to pull it out, but now they got to go to Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State at +6. Yeah, I'm riding with the Cowboys, baby. Give me the Cowboys at +6. Probably Texas money line, but I think it's closer. I think the Cowboys cover there. How about this one? K-State, number 17 K-State versus that TCU Longhorns, number 8 TCU. This is another game. Kansas State, I mean, they've been playing really well. I'm going to go ahead at +3.5. Give me the Kansas State Wildcats. Emaw, baby. This is for my buddy Cody Bansimer, Kansas State grad. I'm going with them. Again, I probably like the TCU money line, but with the hook at 3.5, give me Kansas State there. Here we go. Number 24, Mississippi State going to number 6, Alabama after the loss. I mean, when's the last time Nick Saban lost 2 in a row? The spread is +21. +21. That's just insane. I mean, Alabama's going to win this game, but I can't take a spread that's +20 or -21. It probably will. Alabama probably will just bulldoze Mississippi State, but at +21, give me the Mississippi State Bulldogs, hammering that one home for the Mississippi State Bulldogs at +21. Just absolute. That's insane spread, but I get it. Alabama's they're probably going through a hell week right now at practice. I think Alabama will still win that game fairly easy. Let's look at the here's the AP top 25, and here soon the college playoff rankings will be happening soon. The top, remember, I think it's still the top 4 teams this year, but it's going to be changing soon. Georgia number 1, no problems there. Ohio State 2, Tennessee all the way at their big win. They jumped 3 spots. They were at 6 last week. Now at number 3, Michigan at 4. Remember, Michigan, Ohio State, they'll cancel each other out because they play each other at the end of the year. Yeah, Landez is just texting me here. He's saying that the Oregon been in the BCS and not the playoffs. Yeah, I told you. That's what I was saying. Everybody, or it's been a long time since the Oregon Ducks were good, Landez. Like, that's a long time. Remember, Chip Kelly has now been in about 3 different places, and that's the last time Oregon was any dang good. Marcus Mariota been in the league for a long time. So that's the last time the Oregon Ducks were, legit. Back here to the rankings, number 5, Clemson at 7-0. And then you get to Alabama, who fell all the way to 3 spots at 6-1. Mississippi, Ole Miss is sitting there at 7-0. TCU 6-0. UCLA 6-0. And then Oregon at 5-1 rounds out your top 10. I mean, the only other undefeated team left is Syracuse, and I got them. Like I said, I got them losing this week to Clemson. Syracuse 6-0, ranked number 14. So give it up for the old Orangemen of Syracuse. No longer a basketball school. I mean, last time that Syracuse football is probably relevant was Donovan McNabb playing there. Let's get into the MLB playoffs. I mean, what a wild weekend for the MLB playoffs. Astros sweep the Mariners, and every one of those games was really close. We talked about Yordan Alvarez hitting the game home run, game winner in game 1. And then game 3 was 17, 18 innings of scoreless baseball till the Astros finally broke through, sweeping the Mariners, advancing to the ALCS. And now they will play the Yankees, who took care of the Guardians in 5 games. Guardians were up 2-1. Yankees power back. win game 4 and then won game 5 last night. 5-1. Stanton, Judge, Homer. So I mean, they were all doing the Gleyber Torres was doing rock the cradle because that's what the Guardians had done in game 4. But I mean, this game, Giancarlo Stanton hit a 3-run bomb early, like in the first inning. It was just kind of that took the sails out of the Guardians. And here they are. It's time for the Yankees Astros. These guys have played like 3 out of the last 5 years in the postseason. That series starts today. I probably like the Astros to take game 1 here. Yankees, after playing last night, have to fly to Houston. So they played that game last night it's supposed to be played Monday, but played last night just due to the weather. But now they have to fly to Houston. I like Houston win game 1. I probably like Houston to win this series as well, and probably about 6 games for the Astros. I mean, last night, though, we talked about the Judge home run, our Stanton home run. Judge had a solo. Rizzo's had an RBI. I mean, it was 5-1. No, I mean, we all kind of knew that the Guardians weren't going to be there. I was kind of hoping when they took that 2-1 series lead that they could maybe win one, but just never happened. I felt like the rain delay hurt them on Monday. Surprised we didn't see a lot of Garrett Cole, because if that game was closer, we might have seen Garrett Cole. But I think when Stanton hit the 3-run home run there to get up 3-0, that was kind of it. We get into the National League. I mean, 2 of the teams that upset, the Phillies just took it to the Braves, winning that series. Was it 4 games? So I'm going to have to scroll back. They win that series 4 games, 3-1. I mean, and then you look at the Padres again. The Dodgers. There was reports, people were saying, the Dodgers, 100-win team, look like the best team in baseball all season. I probably said that they were probably going to win the World Series at one point. The Padres came in and said, hey, remember that big trade we made in the mid-season? Remember that we have Yu Darvish. Remember that we have, Musgrave. Remember all these guys Blake Snell. Remember this team that was supposed to be good and we underachieved? Well, guess what? We ain't in underachieving no more. We just beat the freaking Dodgers 3-1, and we're headed to the NLCS. They played that game last night. Game 1, Phillies win 2-0. Zach Wheeler was dealing, folks. He went 7 scoreless. And then they get the big, Kyle Schwarber hit a freaking home run that still hasn't landed to give the Phillies a 1-0 lead. Bryce Harper added another solo blast. And now it's 2-0. Phillies win. I mean, Bryce Harper is just, him and Kyle Schwarber, clutch players in the postseason. This was Harper's 4th home run of the postseason. How about this? Schwarber's hit his drive 488 yards. That's how far that ball still traveling. It's in the universe. But Zach Wheeler combined was with 2 relievers on a 1-hitter for the Philadelphia. I mean, the Phillies just managed only 3 hits off of Yu Darvish. It's not Yu Darvish's fault. Just gave up 2 bad pitches to 2 great hitters, and they took them yard. And then you lose 2-0. So Darvish falls in on the short end of the stick. No help from his offense. But more importantly, Phillies take home field advantage away from the Padres. Game 2 is tonight. So let's look who's going tonight real quick for both these teams. Aaron Nola, Blake Snell going tonight for their respective teams. Nola's pitched really well. Blake Snell at times has pitched well. But this, the Padres can't afford to really go down 2-0 here. But last night, just a low-scoring game, and 2 great hitters just took a great pitcher yard deep. So I don't really know who I like in that series. I guess I'm not a Phillies fan, so maybe the Padres. They haven't won one in a long, long time. I don't even know if they've ever won one. I mean, they haven't been to the World Series since like '98 when they played the Yankees. Somewhere, I think it was '98 when the Yankees were on that run. They played the Braves, the Padres, maybe the Braves twice, but the Padres were in there. '98, I think, back when they had Tony Gwynn and Vaughn and them boys. So, I mean, we're in the thick of it. By this time next week, we'll know our World Series matchup, folks. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. NBA kicked off last night as well. Celtics beat the supposedly new and improved 76ers. I mean, beat the 126 to 117. The Warriors get their rings and then handle business against the Lakers 123 to 109. I mean, the NBA, here we go with the NBA. It's kicking off. I mean, is there a team out there? Let's just talk about this. Is there any teams out there that didn't make the playoffs that we think could make the playoffs this year? Absolutely. I think that if the Lakers can stay healthy, now I'm not one of these people that are in on the Lakers, but if Anthony Street Clothes Davis can get out of street clothes and get in the uniform, if LeBron can stay healthy, they can make the playoffs possibly. I think the Warriors can make a deep run again. I'd like to see them in the Bucks in the finals. If I had to put money on two teams, if stay healthy, that's probably my NBA Finals matchup. The Clippers again, another team that could make a huge jump with Kawhi being healthy, adding John Wall. So we'll see. Again, those are all big ifs. You know what I mean? Like we're talking big ifs on some of these guys. The Celtics could be right there again. People are high on the 76ers until proven. Otherwise, I can't pick them. It's been a long time since Doc Rivers got out of the second round. So, I probably still don't have them as far. I'm excited to see what Memphis can do again. They were kind of, the surprising team. And you look at, Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson, Dylan Brooks, and them boys, like they're going to be ready to go. Here's another team that, when healthy, I could make a deep run into the playoffs, maybe make the Western Conference Finals, maybe even the NBA Finals, and that's the Denver Nuggets. With Nikola Jokic, with Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. So if they can come back and all be healthy, I like the Nuggets going forward as well. The team I think is going to make the biggest slide is the Suns. Remember last year they were huge. They were the number one team in the Western Conference Finals. I just think there's a lot of outside noise with the Suns, and I'm not. With the whole DeAndre Ayton, there seems a lot of beef there, problems there. So I'm not huge on them. Another team that could make a slide down, the number one team that was in the East last year, the Miami Heat. How much more does Jimmy Butler got left in the tank? I mean, Jimmy's the dog of all dogs, but they didn't add a whole lot to that team. I still think they're missing a piece. I love Jimmy, but I'm not going to count the Heat out because somehow, some way, they'll find a way. Like, that's what they do. The Mavericks, who made the Western Conference Finals, I don't see that happening again for them. Just because, they didn't have anything like any significance. They did lose Jalen Brunson. The Nets, again, that's a team that lost in the first round playoffs. Again, that's just, what is KD? What's the health of KD? What's the mindset of Kyrie? And then they bringing in Ben Simmons. It'll be interesting to see how all that trio mixes well, because we didn't see that last year. The Timberwolves, a team that I think could be on the rise. Again, you have to prove it. They brought in Rudy Gobert. They still have Karl-Anthony Towns. I expect a bigger season from Ant Edwards. The kid is an absolutely stud. Can score at any point in time. The Cleveland Cavaliers are a team that missed the playoffs that could make a jump. Adam Donovan Mitchell, we know. They got Evan Mobley. They got some nice pieces. Kevin Love's still there. So we'll see what happens with them. Another team, the Pelicans, can they make the playoffs? Zion, can he stay healthy? Zion, this is an important season for Zion. It was crazy because somebody's like, Zion's only 22 years old still. I'm like, Jesus, man, I feel like we've been talking about this kid forever. But it's still at 22, still got his whole life in front of him, whole career in front of him. And people have been dogging on him. I've been dogging on him. But he looks like he's in shape, ready to go. Can he maintain it? And can he stay healthy? That's the question. And if he can, watch out for the Pelicans because they have a nice team too, folks. They're a team that could very easily make the playoffs. I've always been high. CJ, they got CJ McCollum. I've always been high on Brandon Ingram. I think he can ball out. The Atlanta Hawks, how far can they go? They added some nice pieces. Trae Young added DeJounte Murray to that backcourt. Then we get to, my Bulls. Can they continue to rise with that trio? We'll see. So intriguing stuff there. I just think I like the Bucks. I thought the Bucks could have made the finals last year if healthy. But Bucks, Warriors, probably my pick. Here we are in day 2 of the NBA season. If I had to pick, we got a long way to go. We'll see in 6 months. That kind of wraps up our NBA stuff. UFC, we got UFC 280. What a card. For this show, for this card, you got top to bottom. This card might be the best card on paper. All the fights remain. Hopefully, all these fights remain intact. We are just a couple days away. You have at the top Aljamain Sterling, the bantamweight champ. Or we got Islam Makhachev, Khabib's, Minty, and then you have Charles Oliveira, who should still really be the lightweight champ, and they're fighting. And then you have underneath that, you have Aljamain Sterling, the bantamweight champ, taking on TJ Dillashaw. TJ Dillashaw, we were talking, his last big fight, where he decisively won was 2018. That seems like a long time ago. He had the 2-year suspension, we know. And then his last fight was against a very close fight, and a fight I thought he probably lost, and that was to, Corey Sandhagen. And then you have Beneil Dariush, who at one point in time was being considered for a lightweight run and was going to fight Islam, got hurt. Now he is fighting, Gamrot, who's trying to come up. This is Beneil's he's got to put on a good showing here. And, maybe force his way to, title contention or one away. Unfortunately, he could have been in that title fight. Had he fought Islam earlier this year, if he wins that fight, he's probably fighting for the title, not Islam, obviously. So then you have Peter Yan, former bantamweight champion, taking on Sugar Sean O'Malley, and Sugar's toughest competition against the number one guy in number one contender in Peter Yan and the former champ. You got Dana comparing Sugar to Connor. He's kind of come out and said, hey, whoever wins this fight is probably getting the title shot next. This is going to be interesting. That fight will be real interesting. And then before that, on the prelims, you have 2 top 10 welterweights who are trying to make, work their way up, and the Belal Muhammad and Sean Brady. Sean Brady undefeated, going against Belal Muhammad. And both those guys probably 2 fights away from, fighting for the title. They're 2 of the younger bloods in that welterweight division trying to make their way up against some of these guys who are, kind of sitting on their spot, squat sitting. I'm looking at you, Colby Covington. So let these two young guys fight. One guy emerges, probably puts himself maybe 1 fight to 2 fights away from fighting for the title. That title fight looks like it's going to be Usman Edwards 3 in London, probably in March. So you figure these guys fight now, and they could maybe fight on that card, and they win that fight. The winner of this fight fights on that March card, could fight, there. So, hey, huge UFC 280 card tonight or this Saturday. We'll be breaking everything down, giving our picks on head kicks and haymakers this Saturday morning at 7 a.m. So I'm looking forward to that. Kenny and Craig will be joining me. We'll be doing our pre-show for UFC 280, and then we'll have a post-show Sunday morning as well. So busy weekend here on the BodkinShow channel. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Again, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcast. So if you just want to head over there, give us a nice little 5-star, subscribe, helps us out. Make sure you guys are heading over to Let's Talk Sports if you're not watching us on Let's Talk Sports, because we do stream on there. Dan has got everybody covered, every team, every division in football. There's constantly stuff being put on every day on Let's Talk Sports from different podcasters all over the world talking different stuff. It is like a miniature ESPN style. So Dan has built himself a heck of a network. I'm super proud to be part of it, and a huge, and a member of that, of the Let's Talk Sports community. So again, Dan is under the weather still, so hopefully he's getting better. And we'll be back on there Sunday morning with the pregame show. We start about 9:45 Central Time Zone, so we talk a little games, get different guys from different teams, and talk about their teams and their big games coming up. I owe Dan some sit-ups eventually too. His Jets beat my Packers, so congrats to him and Jude Jets. Jude had that one right. Beginning of the year, Jude Jets said the Jets will beat the Packers, Nick. And I told him to get the F out of here. He was right. I should have listened to the young kid. And it happens. Anyway, folks, we'll be back tonight at 9 p.m. Central Time Zone for our NFL Week 7 preview show. The K&K boys will be giving out some fantasy advice. We'll be picking every game against the spread. Hopefully I can continue the hot hand that I had last week. Again, hey, be a friend, tell a friend, share with a friend, hit the nice subscribe button, hit the little bell at the top so you know when we're going live. We appreciate you. This has been another great episode of the Bodkin Show. We'll catch you guys tonight, 9 p.m. Central, for our Week 7 preview show. I'm going to hit that outro, baby. We'll see you guys.